I turned to ask this person what happened, and it's a light being, a hooded light being, and like a robe that has no face, only light where their face should be. So I'm kind of stunned for a minute, and then I asked what happened, and they said, "Stephen, put your head down. Everything's going to be all right." And I put my head down kind of like this, and I'm still looking at the being's face, and I start to feel pulled, and it's like I'm getting closer and closer, and the scene starts to change to like meadows, flowers, the most beautiful nature scene you could ever imagine, times 100. And the vibrancy and the colors were so real, much more real, I feel, than as I was experiencing them, than this material world.
My guest today is Stephen Noack, and at 4 years old, Steve was struck by a motor vehicle and had a near death experience where he awoke with a being of light who showed him the quantum field and its potential. Later in his life, that same being made contact with him again, along with many others coming to guide him, not only heal himself, but to also use his experience to heal others. Oh my gosh, Stephen, thank you so much for joining me today. I am honored and blessed to have you as my guest.
Thanks for having me here. I'm thankful for the time where I can just share the things that have helped me. Because there was a time when I was in a lot of pain and didn't have the answers, but this experience changed everything. It transformed me.
And that's exactly why this means so much to me because there's so many people out there who are suffering, whether it's grief from the loss of a loved one, they're facing death, or they've had strange experiences they don't know about, or there's a plethora of other reasons. Your story helps them so much. So thank you. Let's start.
Thanks for
You,
having me.
yeah, you had a near-death experience when you were just 4 years old. That's practically a baby. Can you start there and tell us about what happened?
Sure. Well, I was 4 years old. I was riding a big wheel, which for some viewers may not know is a small plastic tricycle, basically low down to the ground. It was 1979. I was across the street at the neighbor's house, and my brother was standing on the other side, that where our house was, and he said, "We're going to the mall." And all I saw was toys, heard mall, saw toys, fired down the driveway, and I went in between two parked cars, and a woman who was coming down the street hit me, basically totally ran me over. So I was under the car, and she just happened to be drinking as well. So she didn't know she hit me. So she continued for probably another 20 feet or so to where people stopped her. Um, what I remember is a blur, and suddenly viewing myself, but I had no clothes on, and my eyes roll in the back of my head like I'm looking down on myself. I see my eyes roll in the back of my head, and the screen kind of fades like the end of a movie, and then it opens again. But so I'm sitting there now, and I'm sitting and I'm leaning to my side. I'm leaning on someone. I clearly feel this, and my head is kind of down. And when I open my eyes, the first thing that catches my attention is this silver hair that's almost touching the ground, and it's kind of like luminescent. Um, I noticed that, and I noticed the bottom of a robe. And so I think I have the thought, like, who is this? What's happening? It's almost like being in a dream where you're kind of self-aware, but not fully. So it was a little confusing. So I thought, who is this? I turned to ask this person what happened, and it's a light being, a hooded light being, and like a robe that has no face, only light where their face should be. So I'm kind of stunned for a minute, and then I asked what happened, and they said, "Stephen, put your head down. Everything's going to be all right." And I put my head down kind of like this, and I'm still looking at the being's face, and I start to feel pulled, and it's like I'm getting closer and closer, and the scene starts to change to like meadows, flowers, the most beautiful nature scene you could ever imagine, times 100. And the vibrancy and the colors were so real, much more real, I feel, than as I was experiencing them, than this material world. The colors seem to be their own beings. Same with the flowers. You could sense that they were alive in their own state of consciousness, as opposed to being separated from that here. So I'm sensing these things as I'm viewing this, and I notice there's people in the distance, and it seems like the distance, but I also sense that it's right next to me somehow. But as I'm interpreting it, I'm seeing them off in the distance. I notice it's like an elderly man and a child, and they're playing, and the child laughs, and I see the laugh come out, and it flows through the air, and it hits me right in my center as I'm standing there, just kind of watching this scene. So I'm kind of standing now in this space. Hits me in the heart, and I instantly got this download, if you will, that everything was one, that everything came from this place. Everything will eventually come around and go back to it. That it was a perfect love, and no pain, no suffering, no anger, all that stuff couldn't exist there. It wasn't that it didn't. I instantly knew it wasn't a match. It just wasn't the same frequency. It wouldn't be able to find function in this place. And then just a lot of that was downloaded at the time. At 4, coming out of that, of course, I knew something had happened, but what didn't come till I was like 10, 11, 12. So during that time, I want to go there. I feel this, and I'm like, well, I want to go there. I knew that was my home. And the being says, it's not your time. And it was like a scene changed, and it was a night sky, but there weren't stars. It wasn't quite black, but it was like a night sky. And there were lines going up and down and across. And the being said, this is the quantum field. Human beings build their reality through a relationship with this field, using their thought, mind, and heart, emotions, and this circuits back through us and gives us an interpretation on an emotional and spiritual level of quantum reality. And so I'm getting this information, and I see in the distance there's something that looks kind of like a credit card, but it's missing a corner, and it has circuits on it. Like if anyone's ever seen a motherboard of a computer, and the being says, this is your divine blueprint. All people have this. This is for redemption, restoration. The key is people have to identify themselves as this. This is the image of creator you were made in. And so, in other words, you have to disconnect from the world's identities and reconnect to this. And this would start to bring you back online, so to speak. Start to recircuit and rewire your nervous system in a way that was connected to your divinity. So this kind of fades, and some of that information was interpreted after. So at 4, I'm just seeing it, and they're telling me this, and I'm just okay. So the next thing is I see a triangle kind of come into form, and they tell me this is the Trinity. This is Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, and they have a son. When you make the 3 one, this is also a circuit with the heart of the universe. I came later to learn it was the place I logged in from, because I'm the energy playing the character. I'm not actually the body. And it's interesting when I say I'm having a self-realization. Who's I'm and who's self? Who am I realizing? I'm realizing the one behind the thought, the player of the quantum video game. So a lot of that information came later, but at this time, they're showing me a triangle, and I'm seeing it kind of light up. It has 3 points on each tip. Later, in my journeys of self-awakening, when these beings returned, and I'll hold off on that, I came to learn it was a circuit that I wanted to connect myself to for data maintenance. I wanted to plug myself in just like I do any other device, because I'm absorbing and storing data and information constantly as cellular memory. And that's going to affect my wiring, my body, my nervous system. So they're showing me this triangle. They tell me it's the Trinity, make the 3 one. And this also creates a singularity. As these 2 energies come together, thought and breath, manna from heaven and divine mother, they begin to circulate around each other and create what we know as a singularity or 0 point. I can get my system to a maximum grounded state. So they just tell me this is 0 point. It's how you exit the matrix, where you're pushed and pulled through your trauma, through circumstances, by the environment, and you have a firm foundation. Also, that kind of came later, but what they were explaining to me is that this helps us create a direct current for this state of 0 point, rather than being in the system of duality and experiencing the alternating current where we're pushed and pulled back and forth, again, through environment and circumstances. But I was seeing this as an energetic equation, a lot like, okay, so throwing bounce in the dryer when I'm drying clothes, for instance, it's going to cause the clothes to not stick. If I don't put it in there, it's going to stick. And later, learning to connect to the Trinity, that's what I discovered, that I was discharging cellular memory. So they show me this Trinity. They tell me it's a circuit, that they want me to connect it as above, so below. In the center, that I have a quantum generator and a Tesla coil going from here to here. That's a frequency oscillator. Depending on whatever data I feed it, and I believe, it's going to create a character. It's going to create this embodiment to play in this theater, or this divine play that I'm experiencing, and that I was actually having a love story with all of creation, that the characters were just parts of me coming and going, so this helped me see a lot. And then when I came out of it, I knew something had happened, but it took me to 10 or 11, 12 to start remembering. So the next thing from that triangle, that kind of fades. They stop speaking about that. And the next thing I know is I'm viewing like a medicine wheel. And I'm aware that I'm viewing myself also, and I'm in the center, but I see myself as energy. I'm just a beam of energy. And they explain you come into the body as pure love, and then you spend your energy like currency to have experiences. And I could see cords kind of going out from this energy. And I was aware it was coming out of my heart as well. They were going to the screen that was around me. And they explained to me, this is, once again, the quantum field. It's storing your memories and experiences and energy. And that I could see like little mini, almost like TV screens, if you could call it that, and some things in them where the cords were attached to. And they showed me that how when I had a thought, it would go to my heart, to this field, and it would cycle back through me, and it would create a circuit. And that's where the Trinity came in again, was to circuit with that, was to break all these other circuits. So they explained people spread themselves out into a linear reality, and identifies the body by overspending or spending into debt, if you will. But they have the ability to have a life review and call all of that back into the moment of now through the Christ, through that heart center, through that energy of love. And to kind of release all these selves that I had created in these quantum spaces that were still existing. So I'm seeing this wagon wheel, I'm seeing these energies out in the outer rim, and I see a lot of space yet to be filled. And then that kind of fades away, and the next thing I know is I'm waking up with toys.
You said that all the characters there were aspects of you. You were having a loving interaction or relationship with them. What about the being as well, the light being? Was that also an aspect of you?
I believe so. In doing the journeying, I believe, and came to the knowing that I was experiencing a singularity, past, present, and future in one moment. And this was later confirmed by other experiences with the I am presence and things like that, that I was coming back to guide myself. But the time was not relative. It was just only time and matter that was relative. But yeah, I believe so.
And this Holy Trinity that you used to log in, you said log in. Was there, I don't know, a code or something? How did you log
I would
in?
say through the Christ. I would say we're probably playing the most realistic game of Sims right now, role playing, that we ever could. And we can change our characters whenever I want, whenever we want. if we can hold its structure and not surrender it to the world. It's a matter of building it, holding it, and allowing it to manifest through quantum reality into the physical reality.
Just to get a little background for myself, were you raised in a religious home?
No, not at all. I never was never even brought to church. My one experience with church was being forced to be a ring bearer and the flower girl crying, and that was it. That was church. One time, but what really intrigued me was the teachings of Jesus and how he was teaching us to make two energies one, to surrender the scapegoat or this lower self. And I started to see that as anything that wasn't love. Um, and this, as well as these beings returning, started teaching me how to bring these two together to create a refined energy, how to take all my displeasure of the world and relationships and childhood trauma and stop blaming the outside and start giving it to my creator to basically reform me, redeem me. I had to put it there because there was no way I was going to hash it all out in the outside.
So you wake up and there's toys surrounding you. It takes some time for these memories to unfold. Is that correct?
Yeah. And it was probably about 10, 11, 12. I started to get the memories and I was, thinking to myself, um, yes, it was real. Something did happen. I knew it because I could feel it. I knew something happened, but it's like trying to remember what you ate for lunch 2 weeks ago on a Wednesday. It was there, but you couldn't remember. I couldn't pull it up. So the memories came up, and I think I tried to talk to about a couple people about it, and I realized it just made me look crazier. So I was like, I probably don't need that on top of what I already got. So, I kind of kept that to myself, and the memories grew over the years. But I just figured it was in my past. It was just a memory of something that happened to me. There's no reason for me to even speak about it. Nothing good or productive is going to come out of it. And a good 25 years pass, and I'm just living a regular life. I always had issues with oversensitivity, processing a lot of my environment and other little things that I didn't realize really attributed to what I experienced. Seeing things a lot differently than other people. Um, but yeah, just different in general. So 25 years pass. Um, I flip another car over, or yeah, car accident, many car accidents. I flip a car over 5 times doing 75 miles an hour. Um, and next thing you know, I'm in the operating room getting my elbow repaired and I'm ready to leave. I'm feeling kind of uncomfortable. I'm ready to get up. And this being speaks to me again and says, Stephen, put your head down. Everything's going to be all right. And that was it. The reality is, I knew it was gone. As soon as I realized, oh my God, that was the being that spoke to me. And when I recognized it, this rush of energy and feelings came that I can't explain, but it was like every feeling in the world hitting me at once. And I felt it all at once, but I felt them separately. And then vision started, and I started to see more about like my near death and what I experienced and why I experienced and the evolution of mankind and ascension. And so that's what led me to Christ, was the ascension aspect of it. How did he do this? Um, so I really like to follow that message, but also to find creator in that feeling that I felt, because now I was starting to feel the feeling again. And at the same time, lose my mind. I'm going to work. All of a sudden, I'm starting to feel people's thoughts, and I can't explain it. And feeling how they wanted to answer me, and interpreting that frequency or that energy somehow intuitively through my heart field. But it was just happening. Then I started to hear their thoughts. Then I started to feel their hunger, and that was the craziest part to figure out, was to eat a full lunch, go back, not have a worry in the world, and someone walk in and you're gut wrenchingly hungry. And after this happened enough times, I asked a few people, and I had two people walk right out when I asked them, "Are you hungry?" And they just turned around, walked right out of the store. But I'm trying to function as, I'm trying to run a store. I was a store manager. I'm laughing out loud. I'm crying all of a sudden, and I don't know why. And I'm going through all So my coworkers think I'm crazy. They think I'm losing my mind. Um, I start to pick up on feeling energies and sensing energies around and things like that. Then I notice there's silhouettes walking around me. And I'm like, did I just see something pass in front of the light? Yeah, I did. And it increased eventually to where I was seeing full on silhouettes going back and forth all day long, all night. Some were smoky, some were dark, depending on, I think, what energy they were made out of. At first, I thought I was haunted, so I started speaking to these energies. What do you want? What are you doing here? I need to go to bed. So this starts communication, and not nice communication. And then I realized, as they're telling me that you're no good, you're worthless, you'll never be anything in your life. Took me probably about a month to figure out that's how I spoke to myself when I was young, and that this was being transmitted through me, not happening to me. And now I was getting a vision again of the medicine wheel, of seeing projections. And these were parts of myself that I had created that never got love, never got acknowledgement, never got the things they needed to release. So they were just kind of caught up in the system. And I realized, okay, tune my thoughts, tune my emotions to match. So along the way, I'm being taught harshly how to rewire myself, how to rewire my mind, my brain to my heart and to my actions so that this energy could flow through me unobstructed. And again, we're back to that direct current, as above, so below. But I'm being, scared witless during it, thinking, okay, I'm losing my mind. So one day on break, um, I go to the gas station and I go to get some gas or whatever, and I'm standing in line, and this man is standing there with his son. He doesn't have anything in his hands. He says, "Dad, can I have a peanut butter cup?" Goes, grabs a peanut butter cup, turns to him, shows him. Yeah, cool. Goes back in line, and then he does the same exact thing, and he had nothing in his hands. And he says, "Dad, can I have a peanut butter cup?" Yeah, okay, cool. And I'm like, what the heck just happened? So I didn't think too much of it, but it was a little weird given other things I was experiencing. I get in the car and I start the car, and they're talking to a woman on the radio because the radio was on. And they're talking about the answer to a contest she just won. And then 2 seconds later, the phone is ringing on the radio and they're asking the woman the question. I'm like, I just heard the answer. So I already knew the answer. And that was the day I was like, do I have to go to the hospital? What's going on? And so I tried to go to all these churches. That was the very first thing I did, was go to every church I could find. Some thought I was crazy. Some held space without judgment. But, I figured out as I exhausted all these sources around me that I had to go within me and start to dig deep. And then balls of light start appearing in my room. Um, I have this experience where I'm driving home in my car and I'm beating myself up and being really hard on myself for not achieving the things I want, for not being the man I should be, all these things. And then this voice comes in and it was off to my right. It tells me how many people I've helped, how many people love me, how beautiful I am, all these things just. And I'm at the time I'm still trying to shut out some interference from these things going on around me. So I'm like, who are you? But I notice it's a bit more strong. It's a bit more sustainable than, say, spirits or interference. And it was very out of the ordinary. So I'm like, who are you? And the voice says, I am. And but never being religious, never even hearing that phrase in my life, my response is, I am who? And the voice says, I am. Yeah, I am who? And then on the third one, I am, it was like that rush of energy again I felt when the being returned, but it was like a reflex. I started crying and feeling every single emotion I ever had in my life, and every memory just boom, 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 like somebody was winding a reel on a tape deck or something simultaneously, but I felt each and every single one separately. And it all happened in the same moment. And I pulled over, I was crying and crying and crying. And then that's what led me to start reading more and studying more and really putting myself into my purification, my self accountability, because I was starting to understand that it wasn't about the people, that I was having a love story with all of creation, that behind all these characters was my creator, that they were all made from this place that I went to. So they were all me. And that started to reveal itself through those experiences. Waking up, having a ball of light in my room, and I'm like, what is going on? There's no lamp there. And I'm like, is this real? So that was a lot of it, me questioning my sanity and then getting confirmations. And this slowly led to a woman falling down outside my store. Sorry, it's getting really windy here. A woman falling outside my store. And this is when I figured out I had some type of healing gift. It was an elderly woman. She fell on the cement and she was in a lot of pain. I was the first one there. So she was in a lot of pain. She was, groaning. And I put my hand on her back. The person from the next door business came out. I'll call EMTs. Okay. My hand's on her back and she looks at me and I feel my hand get warm. She goes, I'm all warm and I have no pain. And I was like, oh, that was freaky. So the EMTs came, they took her, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And that's what led me to kind of start studying healing and other things like that. But I was very reluctant to share, and I didn't share what I was going through for many years. And it kept me in a state where I was going to be unhealthy until I started to share my story that, hey, anybody can do this. What happened to me so I could see it to tell other people how to heal themselves, because I was riddled with pain. I thought I'd always need pain medication just to go to work, all these things. And now I take nothing. It's the state of being. And I realized that once these beings started returning and they would pull me into the space where I had no pain, that heaven was here now. It was a matter of my mind and my heart getting myself there. And there was another experience sitting outside, looking at the stars, and I feel myself get lifted. And all of a sudden, all my pain I had that day melted. All the worry, all the fear, no matter what it was, I could feel the physical pain just melt away. I felt like my body was getting pulled up, but it was me from the body. And then these beings start speaking to me. Hey, you're a biological machine. It's you're being upgraded in how you store and process data. So now no longer was I processing it going to be, I'm going to rewire my mind and my heart to process and store data through the heart before it cycles through the body and gets stored there, creates a reflection, and then I perceive it, and then I change. No, it can be done intuitively through the heart. And so that's what they were teaching me, this new upgraded system, so I didn't create a ton of separation between myself and that love. And I'm thankful for that love.
Sounds like at times you were having flashbacks about times in your life when you were younger that you weren't so nice to yourself. Is self love, is that something that plays into our frequency and how we can heal ourselves?
For sure. At first it was, binding, but then I learned it was just a tool. Like every piece of lower energy or descending signal or distortion to my light, because we're all light, we're all prisms of creator with light coming through. We want to perceive the distortions and tune it appropriately with our thoughts and our heart, not ignore it. So now it's a purposeful tool as opposed and something I can basically alchemize pretty quickly, as opposed to something that's going to take me a while to figure out about myself.
While you were in the hospital after your car accident, getting your elbow fixed, you saw the light being. Did you have another experience then, or was it more about the memories coming flooding back in?
It was more about the memories flooding back in and the hows and the whats, because I was going to use that to heal myself from the addictions, from the overdose I experienced, from the darkness and the suicidal thoughts, and the amount of distortion that I would wake up from. It was fuel once I figured out what to do with this data. And they were teaching me that data maintenance, data processing, just like you would a computer. But they were teaching me how also to make the conscious and subconscious mind one and work together instead of having conflicting drives.
What are the orbs of light that you see?
At the time, I was getting a lot of sign from angels. Like I couldn't avoid it. I was sitting at work, and literally, I would come across something either on the phone or something in my environment, and then I would have a pamphlet float by me, and it would stop in front of me, and it was one of those index cards from a magazine, and it would be a statue for Archangel Michael. And so it was a series of frequent synchronicities that led me to learn that these were angelic beings. But later, I also understood they could be described as alien beings if we wanted to. When the Arcturians started to show up in my room, that happened later, and they started speaking about the Galactic Federation and the hoo ha of the woo ha. And at the time, I'm just like, all right, go away. Just leave me alone. I got enough on my plate. And they do. And I had never heard of this. I'm like, Galactic, what? This, what? Go, start to research and like maybe there's some truth to it. Maybe there's some truth. So when they came back, they were starting to kind of show me how to purify myself or discharge all this lower energy that was holding me down to this other space. It's like a ground wire, same as electricity, it's grounding me out. I need to discharge it so I can rise. So later, alien beings show up. I'm starting to have dreams of being on ships where I have no hair, I have a white suit, I'm roaming the ship, everything is white and smooth. Um, and they're separated by weeks and months. And each time I would have a dream, it would be on a different part of the ship. And I would wake up sweating and sweating and sweating. Um, and so that was the Arcturian part of it. And then they would show up in my healing sessions. So later I learned, okay, now I can start helping people through quantum entanglement. That once I overcame myself, now I could travel through space and time.
Wow. That's amazing. Are the Arcturians and the angels similar type beings?
Very similar. And there's been so many instances I can't tell you where they're speaking for me or they're saving my butt for me many times where I should have been gone. And it's like autonomous. It's like somebody else comes in, carries out the action. Okay, you're not dead. Great. Have a good day. See you later. And I realized that it was the same beings, who would offer that assistance, who would give that guidance and the technical, kind of manual for the system that we were in or this matrix and what would kind of lock us in to that duality and how to break the circuit. And that's really, what I've come to the conclusion was they were the same beings that we could describe as angels, but all working for the same source, that one, that law of one, that singularity, divine law, whatever you want to call it.
I like that oneness. A lot of near death experiencers come back with the feeling that all is one. We are one. We're all the same mind or energy source, which narrows down to being God. Is that how you feel as well?
I do too, but I don't feel like I know I'm creator and a creator, but I had learned to be humble a long time ago. I really pride myself on being a regular person. Um, I never put myself above the one above the thought. Okay. Because I'm the one above the thought playing the game, but there's somebody above me. So I always make sure to give love and thanks and gratitude to my creator above me, even though I am a creator. As we see with God creating the Trinity and then the Elohim, the seven archangels, they're creators too in Genesis. So I always give the credit and the thanks and the gratitude to that circuit and to that heart of the universe because it's going to flow back through me. And that's what happened. It's just flowing through me. I'm just choosing to kind of use it in a certain way.
So you would be considered a conduit of that energy.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that.
Are the angels and the Arcturians, do they reside in a physical place in our universe, or is it like an interdimensional? um, I guess, are they interdimensional beings?
I would say it's there are physical places, but that it my understanding and relating to it, it's been more interdimensional. Memories of being on a blue planet where the sunlight is more blue, and the other planets that I've experienced in like the traveling to certain memories, I've understood that this was physical. This was a physical incarnation. This was my place, things like that. But my only relation with them here in the physical body as Steve, this character, has been the multidimensional waveforms that I can tune in that can, you could say in a way, neural hijack, just like um, neural hijacking and the neuroscience term. When we get neural hijacked by anger or rage or things like that, but it's by love. It's not really a hijack. It's like a surrender. Okay, I'm in this space of love because for me, I learned sharing that space with them, sharing that space with my creator, that was a sensation and a feeling. And I didn't want to leave that feeling. I wanted to build on it. That they were a part of it, you know.
Do you continue to have these experiences and communications?
Oh yeah, I get a lot of downloads. It's like information, bam, information, bam. Um, and then I kind of implement it. The communication, like it'd be totally random. I'll be sitting here one day, I'll be working too long, I'll be inside the house, and I'll be like, Steven, go outside. I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. And then I go do an activity outside, and it's that kind of guidance as opposed to building my faith like it was more so in the beginning. You're beautiful, you're loved. There's a lot of things now I already know as the programmer because I do a lot of self programming in the morning, because I set my parameters as the programmer. Otherwise, the world's going to program me. I got to have parameters.
What gifts were you given to share with the world?
I would say the healing gifts and the ability to connect people to the Christ through the Holy Spirit, the pure Spirit, whatever it looks like for them. That's not the any certain particular version. I know it also to be the sun, and that I figured out I had a sun in the center of my heart. Um, and it's really about connecting people to that, their divine higher self, their identity. I kind of help them connect with them, help them clear out that cellular memory so they come back online and remember who they are because they already were love. They already were whole. They already were these things, but it's a matter of that wiring because we all wound up wiring ourselves for survival, every life form. Now it's about releasing and coming back into the now. But yeah, I guide people, I heal people, um, with my mind and my heart from any distance. I work with people all over the globe, really, all kinds of continents, but it's more or less guiding them to their authentic self, to something they already were, to the one, again, behind the thought. Because if I am myself, I already identified myself as I, who's the self? It's about making these one.
So, what have you learned about the afterlife or death from all of your experiences?
To me, I learned that creator is having an experience like we are and still evolving. And when I look to some of the things like, for instance, the flood, where creator says, hey, I'm not going to flood the world again. He's creating and evolving. He, she, no denominational sex, is creating and evolving through us, just like we are. Um, and that it was a cosmic play, and that creator wanted to have a reflection and a sense of self. And then, we came into being. So it's a cosmic play, and it's a place that I logged into to play a character and have a love story, but not with this character or just this character, but with all of creation. And I learned that my creator was behind every living being, and that would kind of decide how much love I felt in this life. If I wasn't aware and I treated these people poorly, I'd be treating my creator poorly. So I got to be self-aware that creator's everywhere.
You learned in your near death experience that reality isn't quite how we have been taught, or actually how we just see it. There's a lot going on in the background behind what we see. Have you learned anything about what the afterlife is
My understandings are if we're fragmented here, we're going to be fragmented there in that quantum space, and that there's many heavens for us to experience, um, each personal to us, and that we can share with them just like, we do here. But that we're going to have to learn how to become one with that resonance through love. We're going to have to learn how to love still over there, and it's harder without a body to make ourselves whole again. So while, say, some of us as love, and it may exist in this space, we may also have quantum material or parts of ourselves that's fractured, still learning in this place to find itself again and become whole. But that's why I choose to do the work here. I want to do it now and to come to peace now and feel love now because I can. We all can.
Is it easier to do the work here than on the other
Much
side?
easier. Much easier with the we'll say points of function that the body or the vessel or vehicle give us. I feel like I'm up there playing an Xbox controller and I'm playing my character, guiding myself really through the love of creator and that resonance that exists within all of us. And it's the same spirit, same resonance, same frequency. And it trumps all these arguments about religion and all that other stuff. People just need to feel it. And I know all people have felt that once in their life where they felt that love or thankfulness or gratitude.
I know that your healing gifts are a very tailored or personalized experience for each individual, but are there general tips that you can provide to help people to kind of start on their healing path?
Yeah, absolutely. You can start by being consistent, touching that space at like 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes before I go to bed. I consider it data maintenance. I'm absorbing a tremendous amount of data, which creates cellular memory in my body. This kind of starts to block the neural pathways and create disharmony. So you want a steady, consistent routine of breathing a little bit in the morning and then speaking to your body, programming its parameters, that speaking to the body that I already am. And you want to start to be aware of your doubt and you want to try to close that gap until you know it. And I would compare it to things you do know. For instance, I'll ask you, do you know how to tie your shoes? Like really
Yes.
think about it. Of course I do. It's a knowing, it's right here. All I need to do is get into that knowing when I'm speaking to my body that I'm already whole, that I'm already loved, that I'm already validated, that I'm already healing. Start giving thanks for something already being completed, even if it hasn't been yet, because you're trying to cause a quantum leap. Your body, beautiful piece of machinery it is, it's going to download whatever you believe to be true. And you can believe you're unworthy or worthy, and you're going to feel whatever one you believe you are. Unfortunately, a lot of us got past programming. That would cause us to resonate with one more than the other. That's why we want to do our morning programming. But speaking to the body that I already am the energy of love, that I am all of creation. So that breath and thought, I want to use my breath and then speak to my body, my programming parameters. That way, I'm less likely to sacrifice my nervous system to the things that are going to pull me out of the present moment. That's where I heal. It's not, I can't heal in the regret, the shame, or the guilt of the past, or the fear, or the worry, or anxiety of the future. I have to be now. And so, bringing up the breath of Divine Mother, bringing down the thought, manna from heaven, Heavenly Father, giving thanks. Start to really use that circuit and breathe it through your body. I am the image of creator I was made in. And start to release some of the identity the world gives us. Like, I'm not a worker, I'm not a son, I'm not a father, I'm not a brother. I'm experiencing those things. I'm the energy of love having that experience. So, working in some of that programming and speaking to our body is super important. I'll speak directly to my physical pain, directly to an ailment, um, and feel the pain start to gather and move because I've been firm enough with my will to say, as the body of the Christ, then the energy of the Christ goes in that space and it's already been spoken for. as well as our multi-dimensional, our multiple realities that are available to us, multi-dimensional. Okay. Everything's already been laid out, but it's a matter of what slot am I going to go into? What reality am I going to experience? My highest is through the Christ, through the embodiment of love. And then I'm going to align and experience my highest timeline. If I don't embody love, and this kind of indicates the same for the life, when we leave the body, if I don't embody love, I'm going to miss my trajectory. It's going to be off because my frequency is going to be off. So I'm going to live a mediocre or a lower timeline. It's all through that embodiment of love.
You have a book that's going to be available, I think, March 21st of 2024, just a few days.
Sure. Yeah. There's a book called Death. It's near-death-institute.com, the book, or Death, the book. Or you can, I'm not sure if I have it listed on my website or not. But yeah,
I'll put a link below so if anybody wants to check that out, they can just find it easily. Can you tell me a little bit about the book? What's it about?
sure. Well, it's me and I believe 12 other authors sharing our near-death experiences. And there's some amazing stories in there. Mine is not the only one. Um, Woman who was struck by lightning 4 times, which I myself cannot wait to read. Um, so yeah, there's some amazing stories and some things that can really bring people peace and some healing in there as well.
Beautiful. And what's the most important thing you think are that you feel you learned from your near death experience?
For me, at the end of the day, was learning how to make heaven one while I was here. And that's what got me out of that physical pain, was coming to peace with my trauma, beginning to speak to my trauma, say thank you for what you've taught me. I love you, but you're no longer welcome here. And giving parts of myself the love I didn't get when I was younger. Um, so it was really, I would say, in totality, rewiring my nervous system so that I could give love to others and start to feel love because I never felt love and I was never able to give love until this transformation.
Do you feel like you planned this pre birth?
I do, but I don't know if it had to happen that exact way.
Okay.
But I feel like I planned the catalysts, but they may not have had to happen the exact same way. But there was certain programming and I had memories where I'm standing at the console with these other light beings. They're not hooded, they're just light figures. And we're standing at these consoles and we're doing programming. And I remember going down, being squashed into this density and going down to the experience.
If my viewers wanted to reach out to you, how can they find you?
Sure. You can find me on trinityquantumhealth.com. I try to run groups too for, people who can't afford it, people who just want to come in and join, because I think when we all come online, we start to realize that oneness, that we're one spirit together.
And do you have any last words of wisdom?
Yeah, I would say authentically and don't be afraid to embrace yourself and do things that make you happy. That's the most important thing because, again, you're looking to foster that relationship with joy, peace, excitement, love. Start doing things for you. As you're going through your stages of change and growth and transformation and healing of trauma, you're going to have people who come and go. Don't focus on the coming and going of people. Focus on fostering that connection with your heart and peace, because that's what's going to heal you. It's going to bring your system back online. And to know, you already were loved. You were supposed to be here to be a human. So you shouldn't have any guilt or shame or regret.
That's wonderful. I think that as humans, we do punish ourselves because we're human. We're not perfect. We're not this all-knowing spiritual being that we want to be, and we make mistakes, and it's okay, and that's how we learn. So
Yeah,
that's
I
a
punished
really,
myself for almost 40 years.
yeah.
And I got to such a state of pain to where, like I said, I wasn't sure if I'd always need pain medication to function. I thought I'd be in a wheelchair by the time I was 60. And now I take nothing. I know as soon as I get a little bit of pain, breathing, speaking, nature, and I'm back in that space. And it was literally how I was processing and storing data.
Such an important message. Thank you, Stephen. It's been such a blessing. As I said earlier, you are a wonderful wealth of wisdom and an amazing resource and healer to the people here on this planet. And I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. I just want everybody to know that they can do it. I'm nobody special. I'm just here showing people how to do it.
Thank you for being here. I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you being here and supporting my channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing if you enjoy near death experiences and other spiritually transformative stories. It helps the algorithm know that this information is useful and push it out to more people. And that's the goal, to get as many people to know that we are eternal spiritual beings and that we never die. Our bodies might die, but our essence will never die. And I want people to live with less fear. Let's all spread the word. Like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that little notification bell so you get all the notifications when my videos post. Thank you for all of your support. I'm sending love to you.